Hello everybody, Tai Chi Twins here. My name's Jeremy Rorty. And I'm Joshua Rorty. Welcome to the third video of our cane series. In this one, we wanted to talk about how do you use a cane if you don't really need the cane for mobility. We're going to talk about how do you walk with the cane. We're going to even talk about how to have fun swinging your cane around like a crazy person. And hopefully, in the process of that, we want to remove your stigma for having to carry a cane and have you actually looking forward to getting to carry your cane.
The cane, useful for more than just walking. Can't reach that pesky itch? No problem, the cane makes a convenient back scratcher. Something's just out of reach? Don't stretch for it. Use your cane. Your shoe won't cooperate? Gain control with a cane. Oh no, you walked away from the light switch and forgot to turn it off. A problem easily solved with your cane. If it's a flip switch, you can turn it around and use the other side. Get your cane today, the most useful tool you'll ever own. Warning, don't swing your cane around like a crazy person.
So why would you want to walk around with a cane if you didn't need it for mobility? It used to be in our not too distant history, everybody who was social elite walked around with a walking cane. It was usually very ornate, added to their dress. Nowadays though, it can be just used as something like a walking stick like you'd use in a hike. It just helps you be more stable as you're walking along. Especially nowadays, it's winter up here in Oregon, there's ice, there's snow. Hey, there's an extra point of contact on the ground to help keep you from slipping. The other thing is maybe I've just suffered from a sprained ankle. I don't necessarily need the walking stick, but again, it helps with my stability and maybe it also reminds me that my foot is injured. Now, your right to carry the cane is actually protected by the American with Disabilities Act. If you look at that act, it tells you that you can carry a mobility device anywhere you need to. There are HIPAA laws that also protect your right from having to tell them about your medical history. So you don't really have to tell them why you're carrying the cane. Now, one thing I'm going to bring up, don't be all entitled about it and tell them, well, I get to carry my cane anywhere and I don't have to tell you why. As soon as you're confrontational, that's going to raise the suspicion of the people who are asking you about this. So I would just say be non-confrontational. You can tell them, well, I need the cane to help me with my mobility, and I don't really feel comfortable sharing my disability with you. Or you can just be straightforward with them and tell them, hey, every once in a while my knee goes bad, so I carry the cane around just in case I have an issue. It can help my mobility. As long as you're not sitting there swinging the cane around like a crazy person, they're probably not even going to ask you why you're carrying this cane. And then also the TSA actually has specific rules that allow this as well. What'll happen is you'll probably go up to where you have to get your stuff scanned in, put that on the conveyor belt, they'll let it go through, then they'll probably hand it back to you and let you walk through the scanner yourself. If it's something like this, where it's a cane that's questionable, they might confiscate your cane when you go into the courthouse, but they'll have a replacement for you to use that more fits their standards. This is why I would say instead of having a cane that looks like a weapon, you have just a normal one. The next point I wanted to talk about is how to carry the cane when you're not using it. Problem is, a lot of people are going to want to use their armpit right here to hold it. Problem with this is if I'm walking around the airport like this and I'm not paying attention when I turn around, I'm going to be hitting people with the cane. If I hold it like this, which is how you would hold a stick or a sword, now it kind of looks like I'm holding a weapon. So there were a couple of options that I had discovered while I was using the cane. One is hooking it on the elbow. If you hook it on the outside of the elbow, problem is it's hanging out away from my body. And as I'm turning around, there's a real chance I could be clipping something with it. So best is if you're going to hook it on your elbow, hook it on the inside of the elbow. not sitting up close to your body. The only person you're going to bump with the cane is going to be yourself. That's going to give you your hands free for making your sandwich, pouring a drink if you need to. Otherwise, if I'm holding onto the cane and I don't want to hold it with my hand, I can just take my fingers, swim down underneath the crook, and hook it up onto my wrist. Now I've got my hand free to flip on a light switch if I need to. Once I need to grab the cane again, I'm just going to grab the cane itself and then just let the palm rest slide right into my hand. Another way you can use your cane as a tool is to hide accessing another self-defense tool. So for instance, my cane is probably my least lethal self-defense tool. It's going to use to keep them away. It might whack them and bash them, but I'm going to have a hard time ending their life with this. But if the situation warrants for something the next level up, if I'm just here and I try to access something in my pocket, they're going to see my hand going for that. But I could use the cane to switch it to my other hand, and I'm over here and I'm leaning on my cane because my leg is sore. Then I just drop the cane and boom, I've got my knife in my hand all of a sudden. Now, if I'm carrying my self-defense weapon as an appendix carry, which is what I would recommend, a lot of people like to try to carry it behind them because they think it's hidden, but now your hand has to disappear behind you and move all that way. As my arm goes back, the muscles get tense, which slow me down, which is coming in front of me. This is a very comfortable, easy gesture. So one of the things is the hand you're going to use to grab the weapon, you want to be used to talking with your hands, like you're a New Yorker. All the New Yorkers like to talk with their hands. If your hand's already moving, they're not going to see you reaching for it. It's not going to look weird. The other thing is to get to it, I'm going to have to get my shirt out of the way because the shirt's hiding it. This is where the cane comes in to carry. So at this point, I would put the cane directly in front of me, which is a good position to be in for self-defense anyway. And I'll just kind of move the handle close to my shirt where I can easily just grab it with 2 fingers, maybe even with 3 fingers if I need to. But then at the point where I have to go, I can just grab the cane, grab the gun, and now I'm ready to be able to use it. I don't need that cane anymore. Another option would be to just get used to carrying and resting the cane right in front of me with both hands. Now both of my hands are close to where I need to go. Now I want to draw the weapon with my right hand, so my right hand's on top, and that can even be hiding the fact that I'm grabbing my shirt with the other hand. Then all of a sudden I can just drop the cane, pull out the gun, and now I'm ready to use it.
It's a good idea to practice and get comfortable walking with the cane before you injure yourself and need it. We go into more detail about how to use it for mobility in our first cane video. If you don't need the cane for mobility, you can walk more casually with the cane, coordinating the cane once every 4 steps instead. As you practice with your cane, you'll gain coordinated grace. This will make you feel and look more confident.
One question that I wanted to address real quick is what direction the horn should face, or the crook, when I'm walking. Typically, you're going to see most of the time the crook points towards the back, the cane is in front. This is what we call a forward grip. Otherwise, if I turn it around to where the horn points forward, the cane is now behind the horn, which we call a reverse grip. There are advantages to both. You'll see most people walking with the cane out in front, but there are some advantages to this reverse grip. First thing you'll notice is if I hang the cane from the crook, it's got a natural tilt that goes in the direction that the horn is pointing. Where this becomes an advantage is when I'm walking with it, I don't actually have to swing the cane, but when I put the cane on the ground and it eventually gets behind me, all I have to do is pick it up. I'm basically balancing it from my middle finger. I pick it up and it naturally swings to that forward position. All I have to do is tighten my grip. So that can help aid with the smoothness of movement between the cane and the foot. One of the other advantages I want to point out is you'll notice when I'm walking with the cane this way, the cane is going straight up, but my forearm is going back this way. In the reverse grip, you'll notice now it more straight aligns the cane with the angle of the hand. So when I'm reaching out, I've got much better stability if I'm needing to hold myself up. There can be a couple of reasons on why you might want to switch the position of the horn. First of all, if I've got the horn or the crook pointing forward, it's real easy for me to grab with my index finger and my thumb and just flick the cane up. That could go right to the twig and berries or just get between it so I can jab them in the body with it. Also, if I want to use this as a blocking tool, it can work very much like a tonfa. This is what I would consider a reverse grip. If I've gotten a reverse grip, all I have to do is raise my hand and all of a sudden it lines up with my forearm. So I can use it for various blocking applications. But the problem is from the reverse grip, if I want to spin it, my arm and my shoulder's in the way. So I need to have it in a forward grip, which is the way you would normally carry a cane, with the crook going backwards. Now that I have it here, I can just turn it to the side, and I can be like Charlie Chaplin swinging my cane.
One of the easiest ways to change the position of the horn is using the pinky. Simply cross the pinky over the horn, and then re-grip the palm rest with the other fingers.
Here's a fancier way you can change the position on the horn, whether it's pointing forward or pointing backwards. You would only want to use this if you're filming a fight scene for a movie, or maybe you're showing off to some friends. It's going to be very similar to reversing your grip with a stick or a sword. How you can just extend your finger, have it roll between your fingers, so you got a reverse grip. You roll it around the other way, you got it back to your forward grip. Difference is, if you do that with the crook, I cross my index finger over, I make a V with these two fingers, I swing it around backwards, and now I've gotten a reverse grip. If I do that again, I cross my index finger over, I swing it around, now I've gotten the forward grip. The next thing we want to talk about is different methods of handling your cane. You don't want to just be willy-nilly passing your stick from one hand to the other and then end up dropping it. So this first exercise is where I'm just holding it in my right hand. Maybe I have my left hand on my hip. And this really comes from Hapkido, where when I'm grabbing something in front of me or switching hands, I want to bring everything to center. And so that's what I'm doing, is I'm bringing this walking cane to the center, and I'm bringing my left hand to center. I'm just passing it to my left hand and then back to the side again. And I can just repeat that as a drill until I get comfortable with it. I put it to the center, I bring it back. I put it to the center, then I bring it back. Now, if I wanted to get a little bit fancy with it, maybe I want to change the direction that my crook faces. When I bring it to center, I can turn it, pass it to my other hand, and now my crook's facing forward. That same method, I can turn it, pass it to my other hand, and now it's my crook facing backward. And eventually, if you want to get fancy, there's some better ways that you can kind of make the switch happen. And you can see how it was the same thing. I brought everything to center, I spun it around, and I set it down. Now, another important part of when I'm switching hands, it also allows me to change my grip. So I don't have to necessarily grab the crook. I can be passing it over. I bring everything to center. I'm grabbing this part. And now when I step back, I'm holding this more like I would be holding a stick. The next level of this drill is where I want to be stepping back into a guard stance, actually utilizing my feet. And I can even just do that standing from the stationary position, is holding the cane in my left hand. I'd step back with my left foot and I'd draw it over my right hand, and there would be my guard stance. Of course, I want to be comfortable with doing that from both hands. So maybe I do that a few times from my left hand. I put it in my right hand, same thing. I'm going to step back, draw that over my palm, and I'm in my guard stance. Now is where we start to incorporate our other drill. If I'm walking with this in my left hand, I need it in my right hand to fight. I would now switch. When I step back, draw it over my palm, and now I'm in my guard stance. And I can repeat that. I can return this in my right hand in my ready position, switch, and I'm going to step back into my guard stance. And again, I can repeat that until I'm comfortable. Switching, stepping back into my guard stance.
With the length of the cane, you have the advantages of being able to use it as a short stick, but it's also long enough that you can use all your long staff techniques. You can also use short staff techniques, which allows you to reach out with either side of the cane from any angle. The shape of the crook can affect how well the cane spins. The more open it is, the easier the cane will spin without getting caught. If the end of the hook has too much of an inward bend, It's great for catching wrists, but it'll also catch yours. This cane looks more open, but be aware of how far that hook comes in. Also, be aware of any sharp points or spikes. When these are moving at a high rate of speed, they can cause some serious injury. Also, practice with different weights of canes. Lighter canes will move faster, but heavier canes can use momentum to make them move easier.
You can use all the same Kali, figure eights, and circles with your crook of the cane. It just changes it a little bit because of the angle. It makes it move more like a tonfa. So if I'm gripping the horn loosely in my grip, it's okay because of the shape. It's not just going to go flying out of my hand. So if I'm holding it loosely, here's my forward grip where the cane's forward. If I get the cane to the side of me, I can circle. Just swing it straight to the side like I'm Charlie Chaplin. Now, one of the things you're going to notice is I'm not swinging it to the side of me, but instead, I let it cant slightly to the inside so it's in front of me. The idea is if I get this going fast enough, it's going to give you pause as to whether you want to come in and try to grab me or not. I can do the circle on the outside. I can do it on the inside. I can even do it above my head like a helicopter. And again, notice I'm not going completely level, but I'm angling down with it. I want it to create a barrier in front of me. Now, if I switch it to a reverse grip, I'm going to have a harder time if I've got it this way, swinging it in a complete circle. But I can use it much like nunchucks, where I can swing it up, stop it on my body, and swing it back down. And you can see I can get some pretty quick momentum out of that. I can even side to side. Again, it's just creating a barrier in front of me. As long as I have the cane to the outside of me, I can even do my circles this way to create a barrier if I need to, and then immediately move into one of my strikes. The figure eights even change a little bit when I'm holding onto the horn. Figure eights, normally with the stick or a staff, the motion mainly comes from my wrist. And if I'm holding onto the cane, I can do my figure eights that way. But I can make it a little easier if I've got a loose grip and I can let the cane slide a little bit. I'll let the cane rotate one side, rotate the other. You notice I'm not having to bend my wrist. I just get the cane in the position and I let gravity take over. You can get it going incredibly fast that way. And again, it's not like something you're going to use to attack somebody, but if they're trying to attack me and I create a shield barrier in front of me, you're going to have a hard time moving in to get me. Now, the key is with all of these circles, you need to be able to stop. Even in the figure eight, you need to be able to stop and change your momentum into attack if they do decide to be brave enough to cover that distance. When you're comfortable with all the circles and the figure eights spinning the cane, now we can start working that into our drill that we were doing earlier. And again, I don't have to do any fancy hand switch at first. I can start with this in my left hand, and when I step back with it, I can be doing my downward circle, step back into my guard stance. Now, just to show you that when I did that, I turned this to the outside. I did my downward circle, I caught it, and then I rotated it over. I could also make that an upward circle. So again, I turn my stick, I swing it upward, I catch it on the top, and then rotate it, and I'm ready to strike. So I have my downward and my upward circle I can do from there. We can now also incorporate this to switching hands. So I switch it to my right hand, I can step back, upward circle, catch it in my guard stance. I don't want to forget that besides my vertical circles, I also have my horizontal circle, my helicopter over my head. So I can be making this spin, and then I'm going to catch it and step into my guard stance. If I'm going the other way, I can make it spin. I'm going to have to bounce it off my shoulder and then bring it back. So full action, I'd be going spin, bounce it off my shoulder, and then there's my guard stance. Once you're comfortable in doing your circles, it's time to step it up a notch and change it to figure eights. So keeping with the same drill, I can switch it into my other hand. When I step back, I do my figure eights, and then I'm going to catch it into my guard stance. Come back to my ready stance, and I switch hands. I step backward. I do my figure eight. and then I catch it into my guard stance. And just repeat that until you're comfortable with it. This drill can also be done switching to a reverse grip. It's just like I was talking about in the earlier part of the video. When I bring this in, I can turn it. Now I have this reverse grip. Now I can be doing my figure eights and then stepping back into my guard stance. And again, I could switch it. I'm back to my front grip, and now I can go into my figure eights and then catch it, and I'm in my guard stance. So I can be practicing that on both sides. Make sure you're just as comfortable doing this with your right hand as your left hand. And trust me, that off hand that you're not used to using is always going to feel awkward. And then also, just like we did this before in the earlier part of this drill, when I make this switch, I can be switching how I'm gripping the way that I'd hold a stick or a sword. So I can bring this to center, do my figure eights, and then step back, and then I'm holding it more like a staff. So same thing here, I can be switching it, do my figure eight, and then step back with it into my guard stance. When I feel that I got all that together, those individual skills, I can now start combining them and making them into more of a free flow. So for example, I could be switching my hands. When I come to step back, I can be doing my figure eights, couple circles, and then end in my guard stance. Then when I reset, I can switch. I can get this regular grip, circle, figure eight, and then reset from my guard stance. Switch it up, and then maybe I'm doing my staff circles, figure eights. I get a couple helicopters, and then a couple circles to reset. I've switched my grip. So I can just start playing with some of these skills, make it flow, go from right side to left side until you're comfortable with both.
I would encourage you to get used to hanging out with your cane. Take it everywhere with you walking. Have fun figuring out how to use it and swing it around like a crazy person. Through this, hopefully you'll overcome your own stigma about having to carry the cane, and instead have you looking forward to getting to carry your cane. As with any skill, it takes practice and proper training to get good at it. So make sure you look for a good school in your area. If you're in Southern Oregon, contact us for our locations and times. Thanks for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, like it, and make sure to share that with a friend. Click the subscribe button and then hit that notification bell so you can catch our next exciting video.